Mothers, this is their reality, a journey filled with love, perseverance, and yes, challenges. Parenting is demanding under any circumstances. But when raising a child with autism spectrum disorder, the challenges intensify. Emotional regulation becomes a daily battle, and the sense of parenting competence, the confidence to make the right choices, can waver. This is where our research begins. What if we could identify the factors that help mothers of children with ASD not just survive but thrive? How does the ability to manage emotions shape their confidence as parents? And what role does therapy play in this transformation? Today, myself, Sheha Parvin, along with my colleagues, Divya Wilson and Sumia, delighted to dive into these questions through our study titled The Role of Perceived Parenting Sense of Competence and Emotional Regulation in Mothers of Children with Autism Spectrum Disorder. We aim to uncover insight that can make a real difference in the lives of the mothers, empowering them to not just meet challenges, but overcome them with resistance and confidence. Raising a child with autism spectrum disorder present significant challenges. These challenges often result in heightened stress levels for mothers, especially those who are primary caregivers. Stress can undermine emotional regulation, affecting problem solving abilities, parent child interactions, and the overall well being of the mother. In this context, the concept of parenting sense of competence becomes highly significant. Research suggests that mothers with higher parenting sense of competence are better equipped to manage stress, interact effectively with their children, and experience greater satisfaction in their parenting roles. Research found that mothers of children with autism spectrum disorder report lower parental competence and higher stress compared to mothers of neurotypical children. Similarly, studies by Lynette et al. And Alano Denny discovered the connection between the maternal mental health and parenting efficacy. So our study seeks to bridge this gap and provide meaningful insights that can guide intervention for supporting these mothers. Why is this research necessary? So while mothers of children with autism spectrum disorder face unique emotional and caregiving challenges that significantly impact their mental health and parenting abilities. Also, emotional regulation difficulties lead to heightened stress, making it more challenging for mothers to manage parenting demands. And limited research explores the link between emotional regulation and perceived parenting competence. So, understanding this relationship is a key to developing interventions that improve emotional well-being and parenting skills. So our study addresses the following critical questions. Is there a significant relationship between emotional regulation and perceived parenting sense of competence in mothers of children with autism spectrum disorder? How do emotional regulation difficulties impact mothers' psychological well-being and parenting? So our aim is clear to explore the relationship between emotional regulation and parenting sense of competence in mothers of children with autism spectrum disorder. Thank you, everyone. And I would like to invite Sumia for the method to explain the methodological part of this research.
Good afternoon. Now let's focus on the objectives of our study. Our primary aim is to assess the relationship between maternal emotional regulation and perceived parenting sense of competence in mothers of children with ASD. In addition to this, we also aim to assess the difference in maternal emotional regulation among mothers of children who have been attending therapies for less than and more than 3 years, to assess the difference in perceived parenting sense of competence among mothers of children who have been attending therapies for less than and more than 3 years. And to find this objectives, we formulated three specific hypotheses. There is no significant relationship between maternal emotional regulation and perceived parenting sense of competence. There is no significant difference in maternal emotional regulation among mothers of children with ASD who have been attending therapies for less than and more than 3 years. There is no significant difference in perceived mothers of children who have been attending therapies for less than and more than 3 years. Now, I will explain the methodology that we use to address these objectives. We use descriptive research design to explore the relationship between maternal emotional regulation and perceived parenting sense of competence. Our independent variable is mothers of children with ASD, and our dependent variable is maternal emotional regulation and perceived parenting sense of competence. Our sample consists of 30 mothers of children with autism spectrum disorder from different districts in Kerala. To ensure the relevance and purpose, we apply specific inclusive criteria. The mothers of children diagnosed with ASD, mothers attending therapy sessions for their children inside development centers in Kerala, thus who are able to comprehend and respond to self-report questionnaires. And our exclusion criteria includes mothers who are not primary caregivers for their children, incomplete or missing data in self-report questionnaires, and participants whose children have been in therapy for unclear and inconsistent duration. To address these two key variables, we use two validating tools. First, the parenting sense of competence scale by Gifford, Watson, and Manderson in 1878, and the cognitive and emotional regulation scale by Gratz and Brahma in 2004. We also use the person data demographic details for other details. Okay, to analyze the data, we use Pearson correlation coefficient test and independent sampling test. Before analyzing our data, we check the normality of our data, and it just was found that the data is normally distributed. That's why we choose the parametric test. Okay, that covers our methodology of our study. Now I will invite Vimya to provide with the deep understanding of our findings.
Good afternoon. So let's move on to the result and discussion part. Our analysis focused on the understanding of relationship between maternal emotional regulation and parenting sense of competence, as well as the therapy duration of these variables. So the table 1 shows the correlation between maternal emotional regulation and parenting sense of competence. So the research shows that there is a significant correlation with a coefficient of 0.699, which indicates that the parents, the mothers who experience higher difficulty in emotional regulation are likely to have less parenting sense of competence. For example, mothers who experience challenges, more challenges and stress, they tend to perceive themselves as less competent in managing their caregiving demands in raising child with ASD. Then table 2. Table 2 is the independent sample t-test of comparing the maternal emotional regulation between mothers of children attending therapy for less than 3 years and those attending therapy for more than 3 years. So the research shows that our results showed a significant difference of 0.46, which indicates that mothers whose children attending therapy for less than 3 years shows higher difficulty in emotional regulation. This can be due to this suggests that early stages of therapy might be particularly challenging and possibly due to the emotional adaptation required. So, and here in supporting with this is study conducted by Megra et al. At 2020. The title Cognitive Emotional Regulation Strategies, Anxiety and Depression in Mothers of Children with and without Neurodevelopmental Disorders. So, in that study, they found that mothers of children with especially autism spectrum disorder showed higher emotional distress, depression, when it compared with mothers of typically developing children. Then the third table again, the independent sample t-test of comparing parenting sense of competence between mothers of children attending therapy for less than 3 years and those of attending therapy for more than 3 years. So the results revealed that highly significant difference of p-value 0.001 with mothers attending therapy for more than 3 years reporting higher parenting sense of competence. This might be due to the sustained involvement. Therapy not only support the child but also enhance mother's sense of competence. And as a caregiver, this could be attributed to the development of better coping strategies and greater familiarity with
managing this child's needs over time. In summarizing our findings, there is a strong correlation between emotional regulation and parenting sense of competence. Now we will move on to the conclusion part. Our study concluded that there is specifically a relationship between maternal emotional regulation and parenting sense of competence. Specifically, we found higher difficulty in emotional regulation are likely to associated with lower perceived parenting sense of competence. And another hypothesis in our study was rejected. So implications of our study, there are several practical implications. First one is early intervention will provide improvements improving their improve maternal emotional regulation and parenting sense of competence. And the second one is the parental support and training, and the program should focus on building their parental confidence. And the third one is therapeutic support. Therapy for children with ASD should integrate mental health resources so that the mothers to offer continuous support to fostering resilience. And there are limitations also in our study. We only included 30 participants, which limits the generalizability of the study. So it would be better if more large or diverse population is taken. And we used self-report measure for data collection, which might introduce self-bias and inaccuracies. Then future research should aim to address these limitations by including larger and diverse participants. And second one is investigating socio-economic and cultural influences and conducting long-term studies to examine how emotional regulation and parenting sense of competence evolve over time with varying therapeutic approaches. So by exploring these areas, future studies could provide more comprehensive understanding of the challenges faced by mothers. So that brings us to the end of our presentation. Thank you all for your time and attention, and we would like to open our floor for any questions, suggestions, and feedbacks.
Due to time constraint, we have to finish the session soon, but we welcome if you have any one or two questions, it's fine.
Any questions from the audience?
It's a good work. Well presented. Certain observations from whatever you have presented. In the limitations and the future research, you had mentioned that you had considered only one independent variable, and there is scope for inclusion of socio-economic and cultural influences. Isn't it? So here, you have done a correlation test. It's fine. There is nothing wrong in conducting a correlation between two variables, but correlation need not indicate causality. Because in your interpretation, you have said that this leads to the other one. That is, emotional regulation could lead to the perceived parental competence. What you have done is just a correlation. That is fine. Absolutely fine. But then correlation need not imply a causality. And even if you conduct a simple linear regression, there could be omitted variable bias also. Right? So there could be multiple factors that influence the perceived parental sense of competence, not just the emotional regulation. There could be multiple factors that lead to it. Right? This particular issue is called as post hoc ergo propter hoc fallacy. Okay, that is, you have said that you have done a correlation test, and based on it, it could lead to the sense of competence. So that you have to just take care. Maybe further when you advance your study and when you consider other factors as well, just keep this in mind so that you can improve your work on a later stage. And one more thing, that is actually probably could be a typo, because that is what I feel, because you have mentioned mothers who are respondents as variables, independent variables. So in fact, your independent variables here, in your correlation test, it is emotional regulation, that is your independent variable. Is it not? Is that your independent variable? Emotional regulation? So these two are variables. You mentioned mothers, okay, as the variables. And again, you have conducted independent sample t-test, right? So there, the independent variable is the number of years. Number of years, that is less than or greater than 3 years. That is your independent variable. It is not mothers. Mothers are the respondents. Okay. So these are some observations which I have made. Good. Thank you.
The next presentation is on the title Price of Care, a study on the development of chronic health challenges among mothers of autistic children due to long-term caregiving stress. The presenters are Swati Nair, Siddesh.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Is your presentation start?
Yeah.
So, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Today we are here to present a paper which is named as Price of Care, Development of Chronic Health Challenges Among Mothers of Autistic Children Due to Long-Term Caregiving Stress. So, we have to understand a particular bit, like when we are giving us caregiving is done for longer period of time, then we stress levels. Because initially when you come to know that okay, your child is having some autism disease or VAC, you will be first be worried, you will try to get into the scope, and then after giving a long-term caregiving effect, then you develop stress. So today we will see what are the stress factors and everything. But before we go to the mother's aspect, this research can be done into three aspects. First one is like price of care for the mothers, then the price of care for the caregivers. Like apart from mothers, there will be teachers who support the autistic children. So there are different aspects of study where we can study what is the price of care for long-term caregiving situation for the caregivers. And the second thing is like a caregiver is also a mother. So a teacher plus a mother and a only teacher. So we have to see that how the price of care is impacting all three lives. So this is like a field of study we have there. So today we will primarily focusing on the price of care for the mothers. So we know that stress, when we define stress, stress has some definition of stress can be combined into four aspects: physiological and psychological effects. So we should know the stress is not only affecting you physiologically also but psychologically also. Because what we do generally when we see there is psychological effect on us, then we say it is stress. But there are other reasons also, like other aspects when you get into these like psychological effects of increased inflammation, you are having constant headaches and everything, so that's also stress. So when we try to measure what is stress, we have to take this factor into consideration. So when the mothers are getting long-term care and everything, so we know that the primary thing is activation of HPA axis. HPA axis is basically hormones in your body which control your stress measures. So when you are into a long-term caregiving schedule, the HPA axis is already initiated. You can say a chronic stress activates the hypothalamic adrenal axis, is critical stress response system in the body. So when you give a long-term stress, this response is activated. Cortisol levels are increased. Immune suppression. So coming on the part of literature review, maternal health and financial challenges. So the price of care is divided into certain aspects. What is the maternal challenge for the mother? Second, what is the financial conditions? Then what are the health conditions and what are the psychological conditions? When you take consider all these things, we are done like for the literature we have taken what is the maternal health in AAC caregiving, what is the financial and economic challenges for the mother and institutional policy gap. So when we are trying to research on the particular aspect, we saw what is the gap analysis, what are the gap right now, and by understanding the gap, what can be the policy recommendations for this particular aspect. So going on the research methodology, particularly what we followed was the data was collected and analyzed using the Brown and Class 6+ thematic analysis, which is the most common analysis for a qualitative information. So particularly for this study, there were participants like 16. We interviewed 16 mothers, and the data collection method was structured interview and everything. Then we had a structured interview for 40 to 25 to 45 minutes. That was the duration of the interview. In this had a set of questions to be asked to the mother, in which we can do a thematic analysis about what stress level or what the challenges she is facing. So we were doing this semester interview followed, and the field observation was done on 27 November 2024 in Muslim Education Society, school for specially mentally handicapped children. So we went there, we collected the interviews of the mother. So there we came to know about what is the gap between what we are focusing only on mothers. But when we went there, we came to know, okay, there's no mothers, there are also the teachers and the caregivers who are assisting the child when mothers are. So because mothers are in the home, but the child is also going to the school. So there's a different aspect. When teachers are taking care of them, they are also facing some stress and challenges. And in this particular school, there was a challenge like there were teachers who were mothers of autistic child. So there was a dual connection also. So when we are doing a policy recommendation, we have to keep all these things into mind. So for the findings, what are the findings and everything on the 16 mothers? I would like to invite Vati for explaining the same.
A very good afternoon all. So I will be discussing about the findings that we got. As Siddesh has mentioned that we collected the sample of 16 mothers, and out of it he is showing the 12 mothers that we talked with. And what we found was like we got to know that there are certain constraints that were there when we talked with them. One, it was the family support. It was lacking a lot. That was one of the reasons which prompted them to be into the pit of being stressed. And the next one was the lack of financial support. So when we interviewed all these mothers, we got to know that many of the mothers are single parent. It was because of the reason that when they got to know that their child, especially the father, so in the morning session it was like a conflicting part for us also because many of the guests who arrived here, they talked that the role of father was also be a prominent thing. But what we got to know from this study was that most of the fatherly figure is absent in most of the cases. Because once when they get to know that the child is a victim of this autism, he just ran away or he just get divorced from his wife. So that was one of the things which made them to fall under the pit of the stress. And the second one was like they lack the financial support. Even though we have several schemes of government, but they are like the government is not ensuring that whether these people are getting it at the right time. There were many schemes, but most of the parents, especially the single parent, they are unaware of the schemes also. Maybe they don't know what all are the procedures that they want to do. So these were the findings that we got from these studies. So this will be carried out by Satish.
To build more upon the findings, the first finding what you see can divide the findings to different aspects. First was psychological aspect. The psychological aspect says that whenever the mother comes to her as a child is autistic, the father divorces or just reveals from his responsibilities. It's not true in all matters, but over a period of time we have found that there is research is true. Second part is the financial condition, because particularly what happens, the government gives only 1,600 rupees as a pension amount to the mother of autistic child, which in any sense is not sufficient. And also to satisfy this demand, the criteria, the child should be more than 50% autistic. So if the child is less autistic, the mother is not going to get any benefit from the government organization. Secondly, then is the health challenges. There are no proper government health subsidiaries given to the child, autistic child or something, for which there is a special clinic or something to just go and check. Then comes your lack of educational boards. There is no particular educational board for people who are like children who are suffering from ASD. They have to either make up something as their own challenge to study or to just cope up with their what is the state board or something. There is no centrally developed board for the ASD people. So and second thing, like also the employability aspect. So we know this Skill India development program in Skill India development is there. So if we try to integrate that with the autistic, because every autistic child is like good in something, either in one activity, either it can be weaving or just segregating some things and everything. So if you can develop that aspect into some skills, then it can become an employable activity. But since there are no research done on these particular areas, this is the gap what we found out. Coming on the thematic results, we know that the ripple effect is like caregiving responsibility significantly impact both physical and mental health, leading to the conditions like hypertension and chronic fatigue. Not only hypertension, this hypertension leads you to PCOD in mothers and also goes away with thyroid disease and everything. Next comes the stress health conditions. High stress leads to such a medical emergency, examine health issues, and trigger new ones among caregivers. When the stress builds up, you are prone to autoimmune diseases and also the health conditions. Systematic barriers. So recommendations for this particular what the research we did was the following aspects like skill development and respite care. Integration of skill development program. As I earlier mentioned, every child has a particular aspect which he can develop on. If the same aspect is developed, then we can know that the skill in the development can go into pace with the autistic children. Vocational training for caregivers. Why vocational training for caregivers? What we saw, the caregiver aspects are three: mothers, caregivers, and teachers who are caregivers. So when we are doing vocational training for them, it will be a good aspect. Then the most important thing what we discussed in the morning was community-based respite care services. A mother, a single mother, or just a group of 5-6 people cannot come together and solve this issue. So we have to develop communities in all particular areas, or either per district or state, where these mothers and caregivers can come up and discuss their challenges on a particular platform, and same can be developed over a period of time and discussed with the government officials to solve the particular problem. Then comes temporary care services. We know care services or health services are there in a particular district and everything. But when it comes to remote areas and villages, there are no particular specialized units which can take care of the autistic people. So what is like establish short-term professional care options for children with ASD, enabling caregivers to take breaks or attend to personal commitments. What is discussed in the morning? Like mother can take a break of 2 months, 2 hours and go from there. So again, when we were trying to interview the people, we saw caregivers are there. When people go and go to weddings and everything, caregivers are responsible to handle the child. But what happens? The child is neglected by the relatives. Whenever the mother takes the child, the relatives are like, okay, you can keep the child there. So that again adds up the stress of what to say. The child is again neglected and seen that the child is kept away and that develops stress to the mother. So the same thing like revised pension amounts, the pension right is only 1,600 rupees. With the same amount can be revised and bring up to certain aspect which is both helpful for the mother and the child can be a role. Then the skill India development program, again the health services and everything, and also specialized units for healthcare and specialized schools or education board for the autistic people. This was the thing. And the limitation of our studies can be what was saying like we have interviewed only 16 people and the thematic analysis can vary when the districts are included partly and the study goes beyond Kerala. So that was the limitation of our study. Thank you.
Questions?
I just wanted to make a point, not a question. You mentioned about there are no specialized boards. But I just want to make a point that in the existing central boards, there are a lot of accommodations that are available. But they're not accessed by schools and by parents. So I just want to make that point specifically for autistic people, which a lot of parent support groups have fought and got. I just want to make that.
When we discuss with the same with the parents, but also what happens when the parents initially are hesitated to take the children to the special school. They just want to say that okay, my child is normal, I want to go to the normal school and let him be with the normal people. So when the gap analysis is there that the child is autistic, but the parents don't believe that he is autistic. So that gap when is filled by the central government itself by putting up a new board itself. Because they start to compare between the central board education system and this education system. So it's a different board altogether which takes care of all the aspects like skill training, particular aspects of health and everything. That would be a better solution to tackle all this.
Would be against India is a signatory to UNCRPD, so that would go against that.
And also that does not you are not designating inclusivity, and what you're suggesting is exclusion.
Ma'am, this is the notion just put forth by the mother. So I worked as a teacher, so I had a student who was autistic, but his mother preferred to make him study in a normal school. So when I asked about that, she told me that she doesn't wanted other people to treat her child as an autistic person or a special needed child. She wanted her child to be treated as what a normal child is. So that was one of the notions which was put forward by many of the mothers, and that is the main reason that they, even here also when we went to the school, the principal, when we talked to her, she told us that many of the parents, they get admission in the school for, they send their children school for 1 or 2 days, and rest they don't send their child to the school because they don't wanted to get the this notion that their child is autistic and or especially needed child. So that is what is that we have.
Basically, this is not to divert from inclusivity. It's like to just satisfy the mother, like just to take the mother that okay, this is also normalized. So that for the particular reason, if you set up the school nationally, that can be inclusivity for the whole education board. Rather than just in one school, there are two different aspects given to it. That can be also good, but the mother still are concerned by themselves only that I don't want to show my child as autistic. So once you
CBSE, we have option for choosing music instead of maths, which is they went to the same school as other children, but an autistic child can choose music instead of maths. That is fair.
that is fair, but mothers are hesitant to tell the child to go for that. That is the point.
So even if the mother wants to go have the child like in a like if you're talking about a separate, why do we need a separate board? The same board can be implemented in a special school as well, right?
That can be done only if the child, it can be done, but a proper study has to be prepared, and the course structure has to be. That is the
But why I'm saying is because if we go deviate from inclusion, then it's very difficult to get back into the mainstream. Because there is a lot of stigma.
A proper study has to be done, like how this chapter has to be planned properly.
Thank you.
One observation, I just went through your website. You mentioned about the diary study. Have you done that?
Some diary study is there, but it was like before 1 month, so it has to continue for 6 months.
Yeah, that's
So that
right.
is
You
the
mentioned a very brief period. To assess long-term health impacts of mothers, using a diary study for a brief period of time will
Long-term
not
effect was like,
help you.
long-term effect is like the mothers are should be more than 4 to 5 years into caregiving service. That was a long-term effect was there. But diary study since we just got in 1.5 months time.
That's right.
That was
Another thing, you have identified certain things. What issue do you think should be focused more for a better intervention to mitigate those health issues? You have identified certain things.
the only issue is like government policies are there. But
I'm not talking about any policies or anything. Your title is the study on the development of chronic health challenges. So, what is that particular health challenge? Have you identified any particular health challenge that needs more of an intervention, an immediate intervention? Because in your title that is affected, so you should have identified that particular
And we are asking about the stress
Health challenges.
Health
What are the health challenges?
You have probably identified a set of challenges.
These students are there because of this stress and all. Stress is causing a lot of their bodies being affected by all these things. And
Okay, if it is PCOD, see what I'm trying to tell you is there might be a set of health challenges. Amongst that, what is that challenge which is common and which is more prominent so that there could be an immediate intervention that could be called for. Okay, that is one thing. And another one is you had given a lot of recommendations on this. Those things are general, but then when you further improve your study, you should be able to give specific recommendation based on your specific process. So that only then that will add value. And as some of our participants has rightly pointed out, will add value to your work to go further.
Do we have the Sriza is here? So our third paper presentation is not happening, the presenter is not here. So I call upon Ms. Harita Priyanko and Ms. Pintu John and Ms. Deepa Engineer to present the paper titled Understanding the Mental Health Challenges and Coping Mechanisms of Mothers of Children with Autism Spectrum Disorder, Synthesizing Community-Based Care Model.
So good afternoon, everyone. Respected dignitaries on chat, respected people of college and other visitors. We, the team from the Department of Social Work, Rajuri College of Social Sciences, Kalashiri, consisting of myself, Devika Eminem, Sister Chinchito, and Alina Fiakos, are honored to present our study titled Understanding the Mental Health Challenges and Coping Mechanisms of Mothers of Children with Autism Spectrum Disorder, synthesizing a community-based care model. So, as we all know, ASD or Autism Spectrum Disorder is a neurodevelopmental disorder characterized by difficulties with social, communication, and behavioral change. And I would like to quote something that is, autism isn't a puzzle to be solved, it's a spectrum of strengths waiting to shine. As social workers, we don't fix, we empower, advocate, and amplify their brilliance. So, talking about the mothers with children with ASD, talking about the mothers with children with ASD, who are considered as the primary caregivers of the children, especially in the Kerala scenario, experiences various kinds of challenges. And our research seeks to eliminate these challenges, their coping mechanisms, hidden strengths, and community-based care models. So our research objectives are to investigate the persistent mental health challenges faced by mothers of children with ASD, to explore the need for community-based care models, and to identify the hidden strengths in mother of children with ASD. Now, I welcome Adina Kriakos for the next part, literature review.
To build the foundation of this study, we have reviewed a range of international, national, and regional literatures. However, there is a significant gap in research focusing on the positive aspects of caregiving and strength of mothers supporting children with ASD, particularly in Kerala. Moreover, we found that community-based care models tailored to caregivers are limited. This reinforces the need for localized interventions. Our study aims to bridge these gaps by focusing on mothers' experiences, resilience, and the potential of peer support networks. So, now let me take you through the methodology we used in this study. We adopted a qualitative phenomenological approach to capture the lived experiences of mothers caring for children with ASD. This approach allowed us to explore their challenges and strengths in depth. Our sample consisted of 5 mothers who met the inclusion criteria that had been caregiving for more than 2 years, were residing in the Ernakulam district. For data collection, we conducted semi-structured interviews. This method provided flexibility to adapt to each participant's unique narrative while ensuring we addressed key research objectives. The analysis was carried out using thematic analysis. This helped us identify recurrent patterns, unique insights, and themes related to their mental health challenges and coping mechanisms. So next, moving to this is the flow chart that how we like processed our research from the dialogues of mothers and to our broader themes. So next, we will discuss about the findings. So I invite Mr. Chinju.
So moving on to the key findings, we divide into this one, the persistent impact of poor mental health due to caregiving demands and lack of structured support system, the absence of community-based models tailored to address their specific needs, discovering hidden strength in themselves. The first one, the persistent impact of poor mental health. Why is poor mental health to the ASD mothers? Because that is due to the continuous caregiving to their child. Because as we talk to the mothers of the children with the ASD, still they said that I don't know what is that mother said I don't know what is autism and I don't know what I do want with my child and spending time with the all time with the schools with the mothers of child
I do. She could not talk with the experience she felt and the lack of support. Always we discussed in the prior researches and all those things. Even though and another was the financial support, father support, a lack of out of 24 years of this experience. None of them to support me. Either my husband, relatives. These are the lack of the poor mental health systems. And next one is the absence of community-based care models. Already we discussed all these systems because continuing to the absence of community care model systems, that the chief just said that that word literally it is correct because after my period, who will look after my child? That is what is relevant in this context, and also that even though the systems have the stigma prevalent in the society, attitudinal systems, all those related to the absence of community-based care models, and next one that positive learning from the part of the these more experience from the ASD mothers. That is, they found some of the improved non-verbal communications, developing empathy, patience, and adaptability to this to celebrate new things as a support system and redefining the sexes living in the present, celebrating the art of living. All these constitute the positive learning of the ASD mothers. And it's some of the implication. The first one, peer support networks. The platform we provided here like that, but the sharing the same experience that the peer support networks and the mental health services, giving counseling and therapies to the ASD mothers, and next one the caregiver training, and also the respite care we already discussed here before. Awareness campaigns on the ASD, financial support like the scholarships and other things. The context-specific care model, multidisciplinary collaborations. And moving to the conclusion, she will conclude.
So, to conclude our study, mothers of children with ASD experience profound mental health challenges due to caregiving demands. And despite these challenges, they also have remarkable positive growth in themselves, like resilience, discovering their hidden strengths, as we said before. And also, there is a need of urgent community-based care model for supporting of these mothers because they lack in that area. And public awareness like campaign, then inclusive societal norms, which reduce stigma. There are a lot of stigma around the community that a parent of children with ASD have to face. There are a lot of stigma. So for reducing that and to support families, we need these community-based care models. And yeah, these are the literature that we have referred. And thank you.
Any contributions, questions, clarifications from the audience?
I think it is significant to keep the place from where you are coming. See, in the first slide also, you had showed the official address. It is not, not to be observed in your present papers.
Thank you.
Any more questions?
Have you ever had a discussion with the community care providers? That there are community care providers, right?
Yeah, we on one organization for the mental health disabilities, and the autistic children, and they gone to the hospitals. So some of I'm not in that, but some of our members in the congregation I just discussed about. There are community-based care models. Already the support systems are there, but what we found is those the mothers they because of their financial instability or they don't know about more about that, they are not access to those systems, and some of them because don't like to they don't like to bring their child to those systems because more of them know about it and they could not accept that. That's why if they also were aware or about that little more, I think.
See, you can add to this after my question. During the discussion, did you arrive at any specific gaps that exist in the current community-based interventions or care facilities? Any particular gap? Because in your recommendations, you are proposing community support, community health care models.
One thing, ma'am, already the government is giving 1,600 grant scholarship for the, but specific that mother said that she has experience of 25 because her son is now 25 years. Only 1 year she got this help from the community. Out of this 24 years, none of them. In the before research, it already said that after finding out the child is ASD, that the father went away. He was an alcoholic and he went away. She was alone, totally alone. So no one is to support her. If somebody talked to her or somebody gave some special care to one accessibility, she said, I was totally depressed. I think of suicide. If I don't know what will happen, then she said, I found an art of living. After that, she became someone.
Community care models are gaining momentum because it is very common these days in countries like Japan, Thailand, even in our place. Here also it will very soon become because Kerala is aging, India is aging, and even in elder care, community care is coming up in a big way. Okay, and one more thing, you mentioned about coping strategies. Whether in your literature or during your study, have you identified any particular coping mechanism that is more effective? What does the literature say? Which coping mechanism? Probably it depends on situations.
But in most of the literatures that we have reviewed, it is said that most of the mothers depend upon religious practices for their resilience. But we have a question that how much it is effective. A need-based, according to the need of the mothers, it is a big question mark that how much religious-based practice is possible.
According to your study, what did you find? Which coping mechanism was found to be was followed by your participants?
Yeah. Talking to our participants, we have identified that most of the parents would like to talk with their own peers, the same mothers or parents.
Example like Shri is more helpful for those mothers.
Peer networks.
Yeah, peer networks.
Thank you.
All right.
Next, we have paper titled Journey of a Mother to Discover Hidden Abilities of Her Autistic Daughter, a case study. The authors are Dr. Maria Grace Lisa and Ms. Priya Rosemary.
Thank you so much for this wonderful opportunity. It's honor and we are humbled to be here. So far we've been listening to various talks and the struggles faced by children with autism and their parents. So we hope to throw light into the abilities of children with autism with respect to their communication. They need to train, so this is a pathway the train for communication. And what are the brain plans, buttons which is plan of the brain, that instruction is, oral structures to produce speech. Okay? And the research has shown that there are various brain networks which take an important role in language and speech production. So this is an MRI of speech production. You can see the complex expression of speech. Poe. It denotes complex sequential movement of the tongue itself. So why do babies use their mouth for? Do they use it for oral exploration, for speaking, okay, for eating, for talking? And different speech sounds emerge over the years. It takes around 5 to 6 years for speech to be clear. So depending on which oral structures are involved, the speech emerges. So people think speech emerges automatically, but it doesn't happen so. It depends on the language input to the brain, and by the age of 1 year, first word emerges, then 2 years phrases, 3 years simple sentences, like so. It takes 4 to 5 years for language to emerge in an analytic language processor. There are also another group of children who use gestalt language utterances, which is commonly seen in children with autism. They start using dialogues from movies or cartoon dialogues and all, and then they narrow down to single words. So how do they learn language? It's through imitation. We learn through imitation. Okay? Whatever the mother does or the caregivers do, they imitate and learn. And first, the pre-verbal communication, the non-verbal gestures, I thought all this develop and then the verbal communication. So we know research has shown that the mirror neuron system in the brain enables us to understand and perceive others' actions and predict others' actions. So that is the basis of social communication, which again is, for example, if you see somebody who's sad, you will also become sad. Okay? So how does that happen? It's due to mirror neuron system. And the impaired imitation and impaired social processing has been seen in children with autism due to this mirror neuron system dysfunction. We know that according to DSM-5, ASD is it's a single diagnostic criteria. Okay, and we have various other communication disorders, and there are 3 functional levels of autism. Okay, level 1 is the requiring minimal support, and level 3 substantial support. So we love this quote from Silverman. One way to understand neurodiversity is to think in terms of human operating system. Just because a PC is not running Windows doesn't mean it's broken, right? So their children with autism, their brains are wired differently. Okay, either there is hyperconnectivity, hypoconnectivity, and they can have coexisting other difficulties like inflexible thinking, OCD, other disorders. And if they have symptoms, subtle symptoms, usually it goes undiagnosed. So when they go to middle school, they're bullied. We know that some children they are verbal, but that's still autistic. So they usually get undiagnosed. They when they reach adulthood, they get anxiety, depression, etc. But there are some major companies which prefer autistics, especially during the COVID time, because they are very truthful, they are very sincere, while the others switch off the video and do what they want. But these individuals are very sincere. And we all know they have this sensory issues. That's where the role of OT comes in. So either they avoid lights or, depending, it's very individualistic. So how do they feel? This is another video, small video. How an individual autism perceives the words and the world. So every small little sound or small light is very overwhelming for them. So basically the filtering is affected, or the filtering is affected. And then finally it breaks down unconscious. So a lot of auditory and visual and sensory filtering issues are leading to different styles of learning based on their sensory needs. Okay, either they will be visual, auditory, etc. So accordingly, we have to teach them. And many of these children have mind-body disconnect due to coexisting apraxia of speech. Like the body doesn't, follow what the brain sees. Because of which, it's very hard to test most of these children. So this experience of living in a body which doesn't obey you is very frustrating. Okay, this is very commonly seen and leading to misunderstanding. Like people think they won't know anything, they are not listening or they are not understanding, but which is not true. Okay, and the inside and the outside they do not match. But recent evidence from eye tracking reveals that, like in a letterboard communication using a letterboard is very high or whatever. So eye movements, eye gaze happens before finger pointing. So saying that it is not the facilitator who's influenced the person's communication, but rather the individual himself. So this is one of the our proud editors here, Chitra Paul. So this has evidence of numerous individuals who are not speaking, but they are communicating really well. So over to Ria. So this study, we aim to throw light into the abilities of the child. It's a single case study who is also having a specific genetic syndrome. So we want to show scientifically like that the abilities are there.
So as we look into autism and gender disorder, 1.1 microdeletion syndrome, the literature says that if they are having a microdeletion in the gene and chromosome, you can see schizophrenia, microcephaly, while if there's a microduplication, you can see ASD, autism spectrum disorder, or ADHD and macrocephaly. So what is 1q21.2 microdeletion syndrome? So it is a chromosomal change in which a small amount of the genetic material of the chromosome 1 is abnormally copied or duplicated. The duplication occurs in the long arm of the chromosome at a location designated Q2, Q21.1. So the extra piece of the genetic material of the chromosome 1 can affect the learning and how the body develops. So people with 1q21.1 microduplication syndrome may have developmental delays, speech delays, behavioral concerns like behavioral concern deficits like ADHD or ASD, and even schizophrenia, anxiety, and depression, and other medical conditions including scoliosis, hypothermia, and microcephaly. So this is study by Pan et al. Showing us that the disorder associated with diverse and different deletions and duplications at 1q21.1 syndrome. So it shows us data. So many people with 1q21.1 microduplication are likely never diagnosed because the features of this condition can have various causes. It is also a rare condition which is likely to be seen in 10,000 individuals in the general population. So 1q21.1 microduplication can be inherited or it can be de novo, which is brand new individual child. It can only be tested by a microarray is commonly used to look for extra or missing sections of the chromosome. This is a paper published which says clinical phenotype of the recurrent 1q21.1 chromosome number variant, which gives the detailed information on the characteristics of people with the syndrome. As we look on the case report, we evaluated an 11.5-year-old female with 1q21.1 microduplication syndrome. She presented with concerns of speech delay, inattention, lack of social and motor skills. So the study demonstrates the communication challenges, strengths, and developmental needs to the child and highlight the role of parents in witnessing and fostering her inclusion and independence. Relatively better than verbal comprehension, the strengths were. So as you look in the chart, she was initially 2.7 years. She was in Kochi. She attended Placeboard. Then after that, at 3.1, they relocated to Bangalore, where she had been seeing several services like play school and also mainstream. She was attending a mainstream school, which she passed the admission clearance was done at 3.1 years of age. Also, during the play school time, she had a regression, which was at 3.7 years, which is after that she actually got started her schooling. Then after the regression and 1 year of schooling, she located back to Kochi, where she again had several services and therapies in play school done. Between the school time, she was done homeschooling for an IIS syllabus. Again, after the COVID, she resumed with other therapies. And
Maybe we can see this. I just done to this. Hopefully everyone has known.
yes. So this is the mother's efforts highlighting her journey. She incorporated several engaging learning methods like combining education videos as everything with along with multiple questioning so that she can answer and even prioritizing holistic development, etc. So going to the method, we actually the background information says that she was homeschooled from NIS level A syllabus, teaching primarily Malayalam and local places, and comprehensive instructions in both the language, and there was no significant family history as well as there were inadequate for peer exposure. The developmental history says so, and the milestones and informal assessment were done mainly on oral sensory or motor examination, speech and intelligence assessment, pre-linguistic and manual assessment. And estimate tools, formal estimate tools were BLAB, Physical Communication Skill Checklist, PSCL, and FCP. The results of informal assessment says that all the chapters were normal. She could her vegetative skills were also normal. She could imitate mouth open and closed positions, and she had a fast rate of speech, inadequate mouth opening to speech task, partially unintelligible speech, but she could repeat all the simple sentences and had limited prosodic variations. And her pre-linguistic results says that she had eye contact, communication, internet finger pointing, as well as she could match and sort things. Only inadequate skill that was searching was sustained attention. The rest of the things were emerging, and she was able to request verbally in simple phrases, as well as she was able to label nouns, etc., and repeat phrase simple sentences.
She is also a single mother, and we found that using the language assessment results, the child was able to point and express her choice. So that helped us to identify her relatively better language comprehension using these tools. She had basic requesting skills and basic phrases to indicate her needs. So this is the test which actually tapped her ability. This is the test of audio comprehension of language. It only requires pointing to pictures. That is the only task. So with that, like this is another example. If you ask her which is the beverage, she'll directly point to the cup. Her vocabulary is high, but usually people misunderstand her that she doesn't know something. Celestial object. This is one article which supports superior verbal comprehension and novel perceptual reasoning. Although child has inattention autistic features, fine motor skills, etc. This is other functional communication profile which we tried. So she is found to have autism, language disorder, and all. So we advised certain methods like rapid prompting method, which capitalizes on her ability to point. Some visual aids which can help her to calm herself. Of course, use of the AC, but her mother was not fearing addiction to the screen. Some signs. This is rapid prompting method. This is Soma, who is the founder of RPM. So initially there's a stencil which is used, then keyboard, and then moving on to typing. Since lack of time, this is the stencil used initially, and then moving on to keyboard. And this is a son Vito, who communicates independently through typing. Still almost not.
I learned to poets that I write poetry. How can I talk if I need something? The world of sunbeams and other stories. The mind tree.
Okay, so this is about RPM. There are other methods as well, which can be used along with RPM to build the child's skills and motivation. So the take-home message is, we shouldn't say that they have nothing to say, although they are not speaking. Provide alternate means for communication, identify their abilities. Okay, it's due to the sensory issues, they have a lot of these mannerisms. Okay, it is not due to poor parenting, but genetic cause. The scope of future research, we can have smart glasses to filter out auditory and visual distractions. High-tech letter and number boards, which has voice output. So it's hard to teach them to teach spelling itself. It takes so long time. It's because of that it's very hard for them. Or even idling technology, I guess technology can be used. Smart devices, AI technology to detect even what they're thinking, even before they type. And robots to teach imitation because mirror neuron system is dysfunctional. An apraxia app can be developed to teach speech imitation. We can study the neural basis of social perception, predictive coding for the action and emotion of others, generating predictions about one's own internal state, which is called introspection. They have difficulty in understanding when they are hungry and when they are not. So how they perceive and interact with the environment can be tested experimentally. AI model to facilitate early detection of autism.
My son Eli is on the autism
This is a
spectrum.
video on
And
brain
as
where
a
I
parent of a child on the autism spectrum, I tried many therapies and gone to many doctors and physicians to try to help him.
This is brainware eyeglasses, and this is the last video on use of virtual reality. This is a humor. So that can be used to teach social skills.
We are virtual reality in this institute is used for supplementing for physical therapy and occupational therapy.
It's just a room. That's the use of virtual reality. Or even CP for other resources. So everybody is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it's stupid. With that, we end.
Any questions, suggestions?
Since this was a big group, we had to start introduce the various concepts at the beginning so that you understand.
Anything to be clarified? Your present ma'am, the one down, please, ma'am. Yeah.
Will children with this disorder have better ability to answer MCQ type questions rather than
Yes. So this is a main take-home message because many of them they go for IQ testing. IQ testing depends on their functioning ability. Like they will fix the block, but they have that motor apraxia. They won't be able to do it. So that is actually false. The results are false. So if you give them instead a multiple choice question, so first thing in therapy and all intervention is to focus is teaching them choice indication. Either finger pointing is more tough, so at least hand pointing. Start with hand pointing, then go to finger pointing. So if that is established, you can tap a lot of things. And in in exams also, the pattern can be multiple choice. So if this child has more difficulty, you can have only two choices. If the child is able to manage more number of pictures or options or written words, it's like, earlier it was like they should sit idle in the class, they should not move, they should look at the teacher. Now the concept is different. It is like, it is okay, even if they move, it is okay, even if they, don't look at you, it is okay. They are still listening to you, they are still learning. So the teachers have to be educated that these are all not required for learning. It is their style of living, it is due to their sensory difficulties that they are behaving like that. So maybe now its prevalence is increasing. Maybe a day will come where autistics are more than the neurodiverse. Yeah, more than us. So we should adapt to their system probably. So for them it is okay, as Sir was saying, it is okay to stand this side and out. Maybe that day will come.
I have my professor at HOD, pediatrics. He can never stand. He can never sit in a conference. He'll always be walking around. This is genius.
Yes.
He's a genius. Huh? See, looking back, as Madam told today morning, 10% of MBBS students can be autistic. And now I realize that my professor could be autistic.
And this parent also is like, she's like in similar mind autistic that she has. She's brilliant mother. In fact, she herself suggested me, why don't you present this is a rare case, send it for publication. She herself told me, and so either of the parents may have similar features, but
studies like this reinforce the need for training and empowering mothers because advocacy of parents, their persistence, especially mothers, is something which is really required. Especially when it comes to unearthing the hidden abilities of the are there specific techniques or approaches that parents or caregivers can adopt to uncover these hidden abilities of children?
yes, yeah. So that is the different methods we told, no? Like rapid prompting method or speech text communication system. Depending on what their interest is. Some children are not interested in pictures. They don't even look at the images. So, but they respond better to letters or just line drawings. So, based on their preference, we need to explore all methods. The numerous methods used globally. There are many evidence-based practices. So, we as professionals, we try to explore which is, and along with the support of parents. So, we explore various methods, and some may be really verbal, but they may not make sense. They may not connect socially. But they will be high, super intelligent. And this mother also had severe struggle. She is not getting support from her own parents. She is a single parent. But her own parents are also simply out her abilities by doctors. So it's a big struggle.
Okay, thank you. So due to our time constraints, we need to move to the next one.
Next, we have the paper titled The Silent Struggles, a systematic review of mental health challenges in mothers of children with autistic spectrum disorder. The authors are Vista P.P. and Anthony B.
Good afternoon, one and all. I am Anthony and this is Vista. So, it's a great privilege to be here and present our study, systematic review of mental health challenges among mothers of children with autism spectrum disorder. So, from the morning itself, we are hearing more about the maternal mental health challenges through various sessions. So, the role of maternal caregivers in supporting children with ASD is both profound and demanding, while their effort often go unrecognized. And these mothers face unique challenges that extend beyond traditional caregiving responsibilities. By shedding light on their struggle and resilience, we can better address their needs and enhance outcomes for both the caregivers and their children. So, coming to our introduction part, we know that autism spectrum disorder, which affects approximately 1 in 68 children globally, from the data from Autism Science Foundation. And according to WHO, it is around 1 in 100. And we know that these children are characterized by challenges in social communication, restricted interest, and repetitive behaviors. Coming to the maternal caregiver burden, mothers of children with ASD face heightened stress, depressive symptoms, and social isolation. And they often experience more mental health challenges than caregivers of children with other developmental conditions. So our objectives of the study is to identify and synthesize the key mental health challenges faced by mothers of children with autism spectrum disorders, to explore the coping mechanisms employed by these mothers to manage caregiving-related stress. The next objective is to provide recommendation for future research, policy, and practice aimed at improving the well-being of mothers of children with ASD. So the methodology we adopt is like the review other to PRISMA guidelines and standards for systematic reviews. The relevant research on the mental health concerns of mothers of children with ASD was identified, selected, and critically evaluated. The articles were majorly retrieved from Scopus Research Database, and the results were restricted to studies published between 2014 and 2024, yielding a total of 9 articles that met all the inclusion criteria. And the sub-strategy we use autism spectrum disorder and maternal mental health. So the inclusion and exclusion criteria we followed. Inclusion criteria comes studies focusing on mental health concerns of mothers, articles published within the last 10 years to ensure relevance, and full text availability of articles. And the exclusion criteria for articles addressing only medical or therapeutic intervention for the child without exploring mental and mental health. Studies including mothers of children with disabilities other than ASD. Studies discussing general parenting challenges unrelated to ASD. So these are the inclusion and exclusion criteria we follow. So this is the Prisma chart that we follow. In the morning session, Vijay Ravan sir already mentioned that there is limited research are conducted in ASD, especially in India. It is very less. Not in ASD, majorly focusing on mental and mental health. ASD there are numerous research are conducted, but coming to the mental and mental health challenges, the number is very less. Globally also the number is very less, not much bigger comparing to other issues. So the total reports we identified is 30, and from that, when we choose articles, it comes to 27. And the reports we screened are 27 articles. We went through the title and the abstract, and after that, we got 9 articles that is eligible for our study. So these 9 articles we analyzed through this table of analysis. So these are the studies we analyzed. Analyze them, read the whole articles, and come to the results, and also focus on the methods they use. And from this analysis, we come to certain findings, and the findings will be dealt by.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Krista. As we mentioned earlier, we have selected 9 articles, and from analyzing these articles, we have come out of the summary of findings, and we presented it based on 4 themes. The themes include mental and mental health challenges, the implications of these challenges on the life of mothers, then coping mechanisms they adopted, and finally, recommendations for future research, policy, and practice. First theme, which is mental and mental health challenges. Most of the studies we have seen that major mental health challenge mother of ASD child faces higher level of anxiety and depression, and it's often associated with the stress of managing the child's condition and also regarding the uncertainty about the future. And also, when bearing of ASD child, there will be sleep disturbances for them, which in turn affect the sleep of mother, which exacerbate the stress and psychological well-being of the mother. And this mother experience reduced psychological well-being, which is characterized by feeling of distress, exhaustion, and loneliness. Additionally, these depressive symptoms in the mothers are further exacerbated due to the family-related factors such as family dynamic stress or other rigid factors in the family. Coming to the implications of these mental health challenges on mother's life, these mental health challenges often interfere with the effectiveness of caregiving activities, and it also affects maintaining a positive interaction. And the family dynamics may also suffer with increased tension and reduced cohesion due to stress and rigidity in family function. Additionally, these mental health changes can also cause physical health problems such as diabetes, cardiovascular diseases, further affecting the ability to cope. The coping mechanism employed by mothers include relaxation, social involvement, physical exercise, outdoor activities, which help them to alleviate the stress. And other coping mechanism is building upon the social networks. They seek emotional and practical help from the family and the friends. And also support groups were really helpful for these mothers. Support group for mothers which is going through similar conditions. Share the experience and provide mutual assistance. Regarding the recommendations from the existing literature, we have come up with 3 points, which is first one is a unified approach, collaborating home and school-based services together to address the need of child and the family, and then mental health interventions such as cognitive behavior therapy and resilience building programs. Then another intervention can be social support networks for mothers, which can alleviate maternal stress and overall well-being can be improved. So in conclusion, the major mental health challenge was depression and anxiety, and intervention should be focused more on addressing these challenges. Maybe it can be through therapies like CBT, and integrating family and the social support were really emphasized in all these steps. Thank you.
Any questions, clarifications from the audience? So review work, right? So you've identified some of the major stressors like symptom severity, financial support, social support. So which among these do you think is the most prevalent in literature that you can identify?
Like mostly, most of the articles says about the family influence. If there is a friction between family relation, contribute more to the stress of mothers. Like in some most the articles, family relationship is mentioned.
So you mean that is having the most or highest impact? I would suggest that since you have a limited number of papers in this, doing a meta-analysis, see the possibility. Okay, doing a meta-analysis would tell you which is the most impactful factor, or which is that particular factor whose effectiveness is the highest. Since it is there, so maybe you can extend that, add to this. Okay, and regarding the policy recommendations, what does the literature tell you? Which is that what is your recommendation? Which is that policy intervention that would happen immediately?
There was an emphasis on the support groups, which will be more effective for such mothers because they can share their common experience and provide mutual assistance. So there was an emphasis on the support group and also regarding this family help from the family or family assistance, emotional and practical help from the other family members can be effective in providing intervention to these mothers.
And one of the reasons you mentioned about the availability of literature, right? Which is scanned, not many articles are available with regard to mental health or maternal health. Yeah, maternal health. Did you comment on the reason as to why it could be so?
Maybe
because your inclusion-exclusion criteria arrived at 8 or 9 papers, right? So what could be the reason? So look into that as well. Maybe you can include that also in your work. Think of further activity. Okay, all the best.
Next, we have paper title Empowering Mothers, the Role of Spiritual Intelligence and Psychological Capital in Enhancing Well-being for Caregivers of Children with Autism Spectrum Disorders. The author is Ms. Kavidas.
A very good evening, everyone. My topic for presentation is Empowering Mothers, Spiritual Intelligence and Psychological Capital for Well-being in Autism Caregiving. It's a conceptual paper. First of all, my objectives for the study is exploring psychological challenges faced by mothers of children with ASD, examine the role of spiritual intelligence and psychological capital in enhancing the psychological well-being of mothers of autistic spectrum disorder children, and propose interventions integrating spiritual intelligence and psychological capital for a holistic support. First of all, introduction for autism spectrum disorder. It is a neurodevelopmental disorder characterized by deficits in social communication and the presence of restricted interest and repetitive behaviors. So parents, they are have a pivotal role in managing an autistic child as they are the primary caregiver of the child. And more importantly, mothers are the primary caregivers and they face greater challenges. So having an autistic child can be especially challenging for mothers, and as a recent study by Oliver and Institute of Medical Sciences has revealed that at least 76.8% of moms of 125 children with ASD were found clinically depressed. So what are the challenges for caregivers? And the major stressors are behavioral unpredictability of the child. societal stigma, chronic stress, emotional exhaustion, limited social engagement, increased risk of depression and social isolation, reduced energy, psychological distress, and decreased quality of life. And all these ASD characteristics requires constant management. That also become a challenge. And the support system issues are already discussed is a major challenge for caregivers. Now, let me briefly introduce these two concepts, that is spiritual intelligence and psychological capital. So, spiritual intelligence is the highest level of intelligence. It's a kind of existential intelligence in which an individual questions the very purpose behind his creation. Basically, we are not just human beings with a spiritual experience, but spiritual beings with a human existence, I would say. So, mostly in our life, we are in a broader view, we are supposed to inquire the very purpose behind our creation, such as who am I, what am I for? Such existential questions are there, supposed to find answer in everybody's life. So, how can spiritual intelligence can help in addressing the psychological well-being of mothers? So, it is the intelligence that makes us ask ourselves fundamental existential questions to understand the very sense of meaning or purpose in our lives, embody spiritual resources, values, and qualities to enhance our daily well-being. So, as per definition, it is the act of behaving with wisdom and compassion while maintaining peace, and the components are awareness, empathy, existential thinking. So, it will help the care. I'll discuss it in the later part. And psychological capital, it is a person's psychological state of resource having components such as hope, is abbreviated as hero, hope, efficacy, resilience, and optimism. So it can be a psychological resource for the mothers, for anyone who is going through any tough, challenging situations. So combining these two, whether can we think about a holistic approach? That was my concern. And psychological well-being is an individual's overall state of optimal functioning. Its dimensions are self-acceptance, environmental mastery, autonomy and positive relationship, clear sense of purpose and personal growth. So, how come spiritual intelligence can be a caregiving resource? So, as I first said, it's all about sense of purpose. So, it will mostly the mothers of an autistic child may try to limit their role. There's a chance that she might limit their role to a caregiving scenario. So, when she tries to find answers to these existential questions regarding the very purpose and meaning behind creation, maybe she can frame herself in a broader role as a human being. So, encourages reframing challenges and growth opportunities. It can increase the emotional resilience of the mothers, and mindfulness practices can definitely help to reduce stress and also increase spiritual intelligence. So it will help in the development of empathy, social connection. So there are evidence-based studies such as based evidence for that mindfulness-based interventions can improve the life satisfaction, emotional regulation in mothers of autistic children. Psychological capital, it can foster a positive outlook and a constructive mindset, and its components like hope, efficacy, resilience, optimism can be a good psychological resource for strengthening the emotional capability of the mothers. So, what I am suggesting is a holistic approach, integrating spiritual intelligence and psych-cap. Integration of spiritual intelligence and psych-cap can give you a comprehensive framework addressing both the emotional well-being and the practical challenges to caregivers, addressing both parts. Strength is there, and that is not just superficial strength, but the very firm, internally focused strength of purpose and also the psychological part. So it can provide mothers with a sense of inner peace and the ability to find meaning in their caregiving. Whenever we find the meaning and intention behind what we do, then it becomes less tedious for us. But still, in this case, obviously there will be support mechanism. But if we are trying to empower someone, that empowerment should come from the very grassroots level. And it should not be dependent on some external factors. That should be self-rooted, I believe. So it can have long-lasting impact. So when the mother herself is investing in her, developing her capabilities, understanding her broader vision, purpose, intention, naturally she can place herself in a better role. Her level of resilience will be greater. So I would like to suggest these two concepts here and how to go about it. One intervention can be really mindfulness practices. It is mostly practiced through meditations and all. Here, the very concept is that you root in the reality, accept the reality. Usually, there's a chance that the person who is in a trauma maybe have some grief or blaming about what happened in the past or is concerned about the future. So we comes to bring her here and now, accepting the reality and understanding the moment and passing or understanding the emotions without a judgmental view. Accepting as it is, that is the very concept of mindfulness. So it can be a very good intervention that can be given to mothers of autistic children, which can reduce their stress, anxiety, and depression. It can show potential benefits in improving the parent-child relationship, increasing self-compassion, emotional regulation, and improving the quality of life. So another issue discusses that first initially there is a phase of denial when it comes to diagnosis. Maybe reality therapy can be used to make the acceptance of the child condition. Resilience workshops, stress management, goal setting, and also integrated counseling efforts grounded in both spiritual and psychological guidance can be given. Then the role of community support groups, all these have already been discussed. It can, to a great extent, alleviate stress and foster a more resilient caregiving environment. So to conclude, I would say spiritual intelligence and psychological capital can provide a holistic framework for the caregiver well-being, and we need to have some systematic support through some tailored programs. So obviously, no such literatures were available connecting these two variables. There is potential for future researches and how it can be delivered practically in a sense. Thank you. Thank you.
Any questions?
Novel concept actually. I mean, there are only very few studies I think on this topic.
I just wanted to, I like the topic, but I just wanted to, I don't know, as a parent, that this alone shouldn't be the focus.
Yes.
Because what if we focus only on this, what it does is it will take away the responsibility from the others. And it becomes only around, it's as though it's the responsibility of the mother only.
Or
The
the
mother
primary
has
caregiver. Or the primary caregiver.
Yeah, or the primary caregiver. Okay, the caregiver has a role, so additionally they are also supposed to take care of themselves. So it in some way takes away the responsibility from the external environment, which shouldn't happen. Because equally there is a responsibility with the other people in society. This is very good because it also empowers the mother to be resilient, to build that resilience. But you spoke about self-compassion. So when the mother realizes self-compassion, the questions will also arise. Why am I not getting any support from outside? So if the mother thinks, as part of self-care, the mother wants to do something for himself, or the primary caregiver wants to do something for himself or herself, they need support from others. So both have to go simultaneously. This alone can't. This is a very nice thing and not, but it shouldn't be at the expense of the others. That is something I just.
What I felt is that everything else is dependent on someone or something else. It is something which is accessible to the other.
So this
The concept is still
this is important because it helps the mother to the primary caregiver. Sorry, I'm just going back to the mother. The primary caregiver to develop a sense of purpose to move forward and build that resilience, which is very important because otherwise they will just fall along the way. So that is good, but along with the support system. Support system development is very, very critical because there are limitations to what this person alone can do. Without a supporting environment, it will not happen.
Begin when you plan to extend this study. This is a conceptual. You're planning to do it empirically?
Yes, trying to move forward.
In that case, spiritual intelligence and psychological characteristics, how do you plan to measure it?
We have scales.
You must be cautious.
Okay.
Okay, those scales should be developed in a different context, in a different setting altogether, probably in a different country, or probably situations could be different. That is why I mentioned about the context. So either you have to develop your own scale validation, all of that itself is a study, another study. Okay, so you should be cautious when you use the measurement instrument. Okay, and again you have to see how these two variables complement each other: psychological capital and spiritual intelligence. And another thing is regarding the mindfulness workshops or spiritual counseling. You have to look at it from a practical point of view. Okay, rather than giving it as a recommendation, you do it. You conduct experiments or you do it.
Evidence-based.
Evidence-based research has to be done. This is what I mean. Okay, so
Thank you.
give me the number. This.
Shall we go according to the order itself? According to the order. Next, we have the paper titled The Lived Experiences and Challenges of Mothers Raising Children with Autism Spectrum Disorder, a Qualitative Study by Rajni Alex.
Very good evening to all. My area is the lived experiences and challenges of mothers raising children with autism spectrum disorder, a qualitative study. And I'm a research scholar at Bardya University. And why I selected this topic is because when I was researching, I found out that there's a limited research on the experiences of raising an autism spectrum disorder children. Because what more we are focusing on the medical care or the financial structures, what are government policies which is available. A lot of studies were already sufficiently available for that. But when we are looking at the lived experiences, is less when compared to the other studies. And so I have selected around 9 mothers from a rural area in Alpura, not naming it. And the 9 mothers, most of the 7 of the mothers are just educated till their +2 and drop out at their degree. And I have conducted a semi-structured interview where the 3 interconnected themes were emotional burden, family burden, and social burden, which I have focused. And since they had a language issue, and since they were living in the rural area, it was difficult to get technically terms or related to the disordered technology or in medical terms related to it was difficult to get. So the challenges, parenting challenges, which they are now presently facing are heightened stress, anxiety, and depression among the caregivers, and reduced quality of life and increased caregiving burden, and especially for mothers. So family impact includes strained relations, sibling challenges, and socialization issues. And out of the 9 mothers, 2 are divorced. And the reason what they say is that other 7 are also having a lot of difficulty in actually having the support from their partners. So, and most of the, since I told you they are staying in a rural area, the community has been harassing them, and most of the time they are trying to shift from one location to another. And their income is not stable. They have a very medium income, and the distress, vulnerability, and burden which they are facing across the years are high. Now, with what they actually say is that the protective factors. So now, after discovering a lot of efforts, they have different communities now, which they have brought by themselves, WhatsApp group communities where similar children are having, or the parents having similar ASD children are into this group, because they can share their feelings rather than the communities, medical team coming and telling them they may get a help. But what they more rely on is these groups who are having the same experiences, how they take care and what do they do, what are the symptoms. When they share these feelings with each other, the grief reduces. That is what they say. Rather than when the doctors or people who are educated tell to them, they do not understand or this doesn't reduce the grief. So it enhances the maternal optimism, emotional well-being, and the family resilience. Now looking at the Kerala context, that education to healthcare for children with ASD is, even though it is there, it is not reaching such communities in the rural areas. So the greater caregiving burden on mothers due to cultural gender roles. They say that in the rural area, when they have these children, ASD children, the people are blaming them either because of their religion you got, or because your karma para you got this, or they were shockingly telling that it's your duty, it's not a man's duty. Since you have given birth, you have to take care. So that cultural bias is there, the cultural gender roles which they have defined in that particular community, which I think a lot of people need to come out or given an awareness on these things, that it is not the problem of a mother, because she needs support from the society and the family. So what they actually said is, more than the financial barrier, they're facing a social economic challenge there, and also the support from the family was less. So the materials and methods which I have used, I told you, 9 mothers I have interviewed, and exploratory qualitative study was focused. And in that interview with each mother was done with 20 to 25 minutes. Some of them would have taken 35 to 40 minutes, because when they start sharing their views, they have a lot of other things to also share with us and to know more about it. So the children which they were having was of the age group of 5 to 9 years, and 8 of them were Malayalis and 1 was a Tamilian. And this is the raw data which I have got from them, that is the mothers, the status, the religious belief, and the number of children whom they have, and age of child with ASD and the child's gender. So most mothers have the opinion that when they have 2 kids, one with ASD and one with one which is not having, the other one would always have a complaint of not getting sufficient care from the mother. Okay, so we need to not just give an awareness to the parents, but also the siblings who are supporting, or the community, and also the family, because all together only we can help them to reduce that burden, or understand that this is normal. Even though we cannot face it, we can make them understand that it is normal to have this, and to support them, to help them, because most of the mothers have the view that they are not able to go outside or share their views or be in community places, go for functions, because they are being stigmatized because of these issues. So I would, in conclusion, I would say emotional burden, family burden, and social burden are the 3 things which is interconnected, which we have mentioned. And emotional burden can be reduced if the family support and social and community come forward and help them to actually support these children, and also develop the required skills of these children to a better area. Because the 9 of them I have interviewed. Other than that, there were 3 others also which I have not interviewed. So their children have actually crossed age 20, and actually the children are working in one is working in a restaurant and is very good at calculation, and the other is working at a hotel. Okay, and he is actually doing all the waiter job and is very happily doing it. I met that person also. So if you are able to identify those skills with the help of the social support and family, we'll be able to bring the mothers up, and emotionally we can give them a better stability. So the implications: family centered interventions, mental health support, community and awareness, and policy recommendations supporting the society and the family to bring more support to the mothers with having ASD children. And since I didn't get the interview from the fathers, they were not willing to give me the reply. And as I've already mentioned, 2 of them were divorced, so they were not available. Whereas the other 7 were not ready to come to the limelight and give me answers. So future research can be in a way where you can take the interview from both the father and the mother, and also take diverse samples from the community, so that it can be taken into a next level.
Any questions from the audience side? So this one is the 9 number, right? 9. Okay. So did you identify any formal or informal support system that help alleviate their burden? What specific to your study, not from the literature?
Informal they had. That was a WhatsApp group they were having. Even though they are not educated much, they had this. They know how to use WhatsApp and Facebook, but they are not well versed with the Facebook. With the WhatsApp, they have a group where the similar mothers and children are available. So they share their views and get to know how to deal with it. But so that is not very appropriate now, because I told you these mothers are not well educated. So they're just sharing out of their experiences.
So is your study complete in all aspects, or it's an ongoing process?
No, it's an ongoing process now.
Okay. How do you plan to extend it further? This is a qualitative side of it. So what is your plan?
I want to interview more of the children or parents having ASD children, and also meet with a lot more fathers, because I'm only able to meet mothers.
So, specific to Kerala and Andy, there could be some socio-cultural factors also that come into play when it comes to, emotional burden and other factors. So, see how it moderates, and whether it is different, based on the context or based on, different settings. So, whenever we can add some value, we can come out with your own contribution. So, all that. Thank you. Next we have the paper titled Psychological Well-being and Life Satisfaction Among Mothers of ASD Children. The authors are Dr. Sita Muni T.M., Anshuman Abraham Koshi, Dr. Sajni Thomas Mathai.
Good afternoon, respected staff, dignitaries, on and of the rise, and So, the topic we have chosen is basically what is the psychological well-being and the life satisfaction and their association with each other and the factors which are affecting them. So, ASD is a very common disorder. Like 1 in 68 people, according to the Journal of Pediatrics, suffer from autism, and it's even more in high-skilled professions like medicine and engineering also. So in this, there are two factors which haven't been studied in much detail. One is life satisfaction and one is psychological well-being. Now WHO has very comprehensive definitions of them. Like it says that psychological well-being is the presence of positive emotions and the absence of negative emotions. But in simple language basically, psychological well-being is you feel good. And life satisfaction is I think my life is good. So our hypothesis in So our hypothesis is basically, our hypothesis was basically that that there was no relationship between them, and our primary objectives during this study was to find out that one, is there any relationship between psychological well-being and life satisfaction among mothers of ASD children, and secondly, to find out if the various socio-demographic factors like your income level, if the gender of the child who is affected with autism, if your educational status, if the income level, if the mother is working or not, affects the person's, affects their life satisfaction and affects their well-being. So that is our topic. So on literature review, we haven't found much in the last 20 years. There actually was a significant amount of literature in the 1990s. But most of them are out of date and restricted into the demographic area of Europe, and they had very even smaller sample sizes than we did. So we took a sample size of 18 children. So we took it by a descriptive research method. So we gave a questionnaire and we asked them to fill it, and we took a sample size of 18 people from a single center in Erlangen. So it was used by convenience sampling. So we used two questionnaires: the WHO 5 well-being index, and the satisfaction with life scale. To measure that, and in addition to that, we have demographic profile. So the WHO 5 well-being assesses how much they have that, how much they feel their well-being is on a degree from 0 to 25, which is multiplied into a scale of 100, And then satisfaction with life scale assessed using 5 parameters. Both of these use 5 parameters into a degree of 30. And then we use a demographic screening form where we got the age, place of residence, socioeconomic status, and family variables. So what were our findings? So our findings from the study was that the mean and standard deviation of well-being index is 66.67 and then 22.25. Meaning there's a large difference in that range in which their well-being index falls. And it's also been found when we analyze the data of the mother that a significant majority of them are either slightly have slight problems with it, or they have are slightly dissatisfied or extremely dissatisfied. But some are only extremely dissatisfied, but there's a very large spectrum on deviation because of its standard deviation being 22.05. Then satisfaction with life scale has a lesser standard deviation and it fits in a better category where it's 15.7. So most people are slightly dissatisfied with their life, but but they vary between neutral and dissatisfied. So this is how we got it, our analysis. So in this, the most people are following in the dissatisfied, extremely dissatisfied, and slightly dissatisfied category. 15 respondents out of 18. But because of the so one of the limitations of our study was because of this, and the extremely satisfied and dissatisfied are 2 and 1. Now, so we found out what was the correlation between life satisfaction and psychological well-being and life satisfaction. So we found out that there was a moderate positive correlation, which basic of 0.590 and 34.81% relatedness, which basically means that in this that there is a moderate positive relationship, meaning a correlation, which means that people who have good psychological well-being tend to also have better satisfaction in life, and vice versa to a certain extent, but it's not to a very large extent. There's a significant moderate though. It's only moderately related. Then we compare the various demographic variables, because in the beginning, before we had a study, there's many perceptions here that well-educated mothers will have better life satisfaction, they will have better psychological well-being. That people who studied about us too, that people in better income groups, that people who are in urban and in joint families. That is the common perception there, because in society at large. So when we went in and did the data for it specifically, we found out that among the above factors, among all the factors we studied, which included income, which included joint family, which included everything, the only thing which showed a significant difference in that life satisfaction scale was their employment status. Meaning that mothers who are well educated, meaning above +2, and mothers who are not educated, well, below +2, they don't have much significant difference in life status. People in joint families don't have a significant difference in life status, and people in different income groups, all our respondents were above poverty line, but in these different income groups, there wasn't a significant difference either, and the gender of the child also does not have a significant difference either in the Kerala context. So conclusion, the study focused on the relationship between psychological well-being and life satisfaction. We found that there was a moderate positive correlation between psychological well-being and satisfaction, and we found out that the influence of well-being on life satisfaction was 34.81%. And we also found that there was a significant influence of employment status on life satisfaction, and there were significant differences between life satisfaction and working and non-working mothers. Working mothers tended to be more satisfied with it, and that no other socio-demographic factors in our study setting had a significant influence. Now, this discussion of that is basically that one possible method to rectify this. One method that has been talked about in detail is for mothers to focus a lot on their child, to get spiritual intelligence, to get fulfillment from helping them. But another possible method is to encourage them to have a life outside their child, to get fulfillment from other things, not to define themselves as only being, I am the mother of a disabled child. Not only that, I am the mother of a disabled child who is also a skilled worker, or who also plays a sport, or who also plays music. That will allow them. That was another thing that religion fulfilled in the previous case. But this will allow them to get more life satisfaction. Because life satisfaction at the end of the day, to quote Viktor Frankl in his Search for Meaning, is what you look back in your life and say, what all have I achieved in life? So if you have more things to do, that will help them. So that is the conclusion. This is our references.
clearly indicates that the mother, if they have a part of their personality other than that of being the mother of a child with disability, that is what makes all the difference. Reaching their own personal goals and doing something which, like as you mentioned, Viktor Frankl, like what have you achieved in life? It's not just about taking care of the child. Thank you for that.
Yeah, though the study looks very simple, it's very much focused.
Very profound.
And I am very proud to say that Anshuman is my student, and I really don't have even one percent or 0.1% role in his study. But being a second year student, he has done a big study. It's great study.
So you mentioned, see your sample size is small, but it is okay. Maybe next time when you extend the study, you can.
Restricted to Kerala context also.
Yeah.
That's why the educational status is not playing that much of a role, while certain things like male and female child is not playing that much role compared to other places. Because it will vary in other places, but because Kerala is probably the best place where we can find a study where working itself or other hobbies are considered important, because this is the closest to an equitable society we get in India at large now. So because of that, it serves as a good hallmark to show.
Yeah,
Because
probably, when you further extend the study, increasing the sample size would make your study more reliable. Okay, that is one thing. And the next thing is, you mentioned some 34% influence. So which means have you done a regression?
We have calculated the Asper value for the data.
Okay, so in that case, there could be, there's something known as committed variant bias. Okay, so from the correlation, you should never arrive at causality. You have to run the regression as well. Probably you can search for other factors also that leads to life satisfaction was a different variable, right? That's one thing. And one thing which strike was life outside the caregiving. Okay, so the major recommendation or the implication of your study should be you have to empower mothers, and one major finding was that everything else when this is insignificant, whereas that employability factor was the only
They are having some exposure to the other community or other persons. So that is the main thing, they are having the lifestyle.
Okay. So that calls for attention, which means in some way or the other, they have to be engaged, employed. Whether financial is involved or not, that is secondary. But life outside this, caregiving is also important for life satisfaction. Right? Okay. All the best.
So next, this will be our last presentation. So next we have paper title, Health and Well-being of Mothers, Caring for Children with Autistic Spectrum Disorder, a case study, presented by Mr. Abhishankar and Mr. Ashwin Sen.
Good evening all. Good evening all. We are here to present our case on health and well-being of mothers caring for children with ASD. This presentation explores about the challenges faced by the mothers caring for children in this Kerala context. Basically, we took 13 samples, and out of them, which one was outlier. We have done a case study through, we have done a questionnaire survey and also done interview. The main understanding of the challenges is through are of physical exhaustion and emotional stress. Mother face physical exhaustion due to demanding nature of caregiving doing caring for excessive hours, which may lead them to chronic fatigue, anxiety, blood pressure, and back pain. Which they are mentioning in the survey. The emotional stress are mainly the social stigma. In the survey, they have said that they feel isolated in society many times, and they will be often feel that they take backseat to their children's needs. The coping strategies that for resilience and support for the mothers rely heavily on their inner strength and personal reliance to navigate the challenges through doing some external activities like writing books, doing yoga, writing poems. Then about the family support, like today's task is about that family and community support should be there, which play a vital role in improving their mental health and giving them a confidence. And the community networks. Mother finds solace and support through community networks, connecting with other caregivers who understand and give them their unique experience and challenges and tell them how they cope with the problem. The gaps and needs. Limited healthcare. Limited access to affordable healthcare and medicines faces significant challenges in the caregiving journey of their ASD children. And inadequate counseling. They feel a lack of access or awareness to the counseling, and all are not available. All are not knowing about every kind of counseling that are happening around us. And limited policy awareness. They are not knowing much about the old government policies. They are introduced for the ASD caregiving of ASD children's mothers, and that's it. These are some survey questions where they have said that 61.5% medication users are there after they have met with their children's ASD health problem. They are getting advocates around 77% of family support and social isolation. That's one of the main problems. The 61.5% of them have told that they sometimes feel socially isolated in the society while joining for many programs, ceremonies, etc. Then we have some relationship between caregiving hours per day and healthcare care of caregiving mothers. Slightly we had to accept the alternative hypothesis because the non-linear relationship between daily caregiving hours and health problems had occurred. While taking 2 to 3.5 hours, there was a slight increase in health problems. And similarly, when we speak about after 5 hours, when mother gives more than 5 hours of caregiving, they had shown some increase in health problems, like the health problems like that we have blood pressure, increase in blood pressure, back pain, and sleep disturbances. The caregiving years per day and health of caregiving mothers, one of the relation that we tested, and here we have found that at the starting time when they found that their children are affected with ASD from 0 to 2.5 years, they may start feeling many physical challenges at the starting time because of the lack of knowledge and mental stress. But after that, when we gradually the years pass on, after 3.5 years, they gradually started coping up with that and started used to it, and the mental stress and physical stress starts to lower down. Now next will be taken by Abhishek.
Okay, as my colleague said, we done a survey that many of the mothers, we have taken around 12 mothers, 13 mothers, but one is exception because her child is now 50-year-old, so we can't take that data. So among the 12 mothers, they told that if they are giving the caregiving, they are taking around 2 to 3 years. So they are feeling health issues. But if they are giving the proper guidance, or if they are taking caregiving more than 3 years, they are not feeling much tired or much health problem. They are not feeling much health problem because they are used to that situation. So from our survey, we analyzed that. From the data visualization, we have flex plot analysis, descriptive statistics analysis, correlation plot analysis. In that also, we have get to know that after a period of time, they are used to that situation and they won't be think that it is a burden or it is a thing which leads to their health. So that is the analysis which we got from the survey. The next is the policy, the addressing gaps. So community networks. Mothers are not getting much frequently or a peer group to reduce their stress or communicate with others. So with our perspective or with our survey, the mothers who which we've taken are not getting much peer support. So it will be a gap for them. And the policy awareness. The government policies which is introduced by the government is not aware by that kind of mothers. So it will be a problem. So proper guidance or proper literate awareness, giving awareness to that kind of mothers will be a gap reduction method and healthcare access. So our survey, by our survey, some of the mothers told that they want healthcare assistance or they want financial assistance. So this kind of healthcare access or financial assistance want to be given by some sort of people or some sort of groups. So it will be a helpful method. And the holistic support, I already told that financial aids, medical resource, emotional support, social engagement, these kind of things want to be added for a multi-dimensional approach or a holistic support. And forward, we are looking forward for a research that our research is only based on 12 mothers. So we want to further move forward and want to take at least large sample size. So it will be helpful for the mothers who are taking care of the child, or we can analyze what kind of problems or what kind of health issues are they are getting nowadays. So it will be helpful. These are the objectives. Thank you.
Any clarifications, something to add, questions? Reviewing your study, come across any particularly effective coping mechanism that could be scaled up or recommended to other caregivers in similar situations?
Yes, ma'am. I have found a rare case. She was a nurse who was doing. She was a nurse in Saudi Arabia. When she became mother, her first child was an autism ASD. She left that job in Saudi and came here, and she started looking after that boy. Around 5 to 6 years, she didn't go for any job, and their family's financial condition become very poor. Now she's started looking for a job. Now she's working in an Anganwadi as a teacher because that's near to her home, so she can take her boy to that place and they can look after him. With that she started writing poems, novels, and she started publishing it, and she got awarded from our Taluk MPs, our assemblies, and that's all.
Okay, so how can you arrive at how can you call this, what do you call this as? What kind of a coping mechanism? You don't have to use any jargons or anything. So you have described a case where she has used some kind of a coping mechanism. Leaving a job is not a coping mechanism or coping strategy.
Getting into some arts and literature.
Yes. Okay. Maybe you can connect this with the previous discussion that we had.
Yes.
Right? There is another world beyond caregiving.
Want to divert some.
Not only focus on
Searching inside,
Yes, ma'am.
realizing oneself. Okay, anyway, good. Thank you so much.
So this was our last presentation. Around related to the certification distribution. So I invite Dr. Nissa to give away the certificates to all the presenters. So you can come to the stage once when I call the names. But yeah, but the causes would be. Ms. Sheha Parveen, India Wilson, Sonia E.S. Ms. Alina Kuriakos, Ms. Chintu Joy, and Ms. Devika M. Vinay. We have Dr. Maria Grace Pisa and Ria Rosalie, Vista PP, and Anthony DM. Ms. Sabita, Mr. Adi Shankar, and Mr. Ashwin Sani. Dr. Sajita Moin PM, Mr. Anshuman Abraham Koshi, Dr. Sajini Thomas Makai.
This is the first academic presentation. Thank you for the Oh, sorry. Yes. Thank you.
Maybe I'll come and join you after that. You want the evaluation sheet right now or I'll handle
No.
ഇവിടെ തന്നാൽ മതിയോ ഞാൻ കംപ്ലീറ്റ് ചെയ്തിട്ടില്ല ഇനി 2 minutes.
Okay.
Now we have a short tea break for 15 minutes. But please come back to this hall itself because we will be doing the validity session. So in that we will be distributing the awards for the best papers in track 1, track 2 as well as track 2. Thank you.